Many of the delicacies that we take for granted at restaurants, food trucks, and Instagram posts have seriously dark backstories. And understanding the grim cultural origins behind our favorite cuisines can help us appreciate them more. So today, we're serving some innovative foods born out of cultural tragedies. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other iconic dishes you would like to hear about. Okay, time to see what's on the menu. A cross between funnel cake and naan, fry bread is made from a soft, salty flatbread dropped into a cast iron skillet filled with hot oil or lard. But despite its deceptively simple makeup, fry bread carries a heavy historical context weightier than any batter, and the classic Western confection is controversial among Native Americans. Why is that? Well, when European colonists forced the Native Americans to resettle, they mostly sent them to remote, barren lands that could not be farmed. It was a dick move. In order to keep them from completely starving, the United States government initiated what they called a commodity food program to provide Native peoples with flour, lard, salt, sugar, and canned goods. Those ingredients didn't really add up to a whole lot of dietary options, but you can use them to make fry bread, and so a new dish was born. Today, many Native Americans view fry bread as a symbol of oppression, while others find power in its diasporic reach, as a unifying experience shared by all Native peoples. If you want to get a sense of its importance, the dish even received several call-outs in the television series Reservation Dogs, which was set on a reservation. There's nothing more American than a good old-fashioned barbecue, right? Well, not exactly. Barbecue actually has its roots in African, Caribbean, and Native American cultures. The etymological root of the word barbecue even stems from the Caribbean Spanish word barbacoa, meaning to roast over hot coals and wood. Barbecue goes back so far in the Caribbean that Diego Alvarez, the crew physician on Christopher Columbus's second trip to the Americas in 1493, was already taking notes on the meat-smoking techniques utilized by the Arawak people in the Greater Antilles, who would slowly roast fish and serpents over coals. These methods were immediately co-opted and brought to Europe, and so, when Europeans began to establish colonies in North America, imported hogs quickly became the centerpiece of the barbecue, which was now a popular social and political event. Many felt that barbecue was a symbol of American freedom, believing that the ability to eat and drink together at a big old community shindig was a grand symbol of democracy. As long as you happened to be one of the people at the barbecue who was truly free. The cooks at these events were usually enslaved people, due to their familiarity with the cooking techniques. A white man would typically oversee the grilling process, while the black pitmasters cooked and served guests. Similar to the history of gumbo and fried chicken, the barbecuing traditions of enslaved peoples were eventually reclaimed. On the day that slavery was formally abolished in the United States, many newly free people celebrated with the hickory-smoked symbol of freedom and democracy, barbecue. These days, when you hear someone mention Spam, they're usually talking about junk emails or a Monty Python sketch. This canned mystery meat is made of pork shoulder, ham, water, salt, sugar, sodium nitrate, and potato starch, which is used to bind the materials into their recognizable loaf shape. Its makeup is not much different from an average hot dog, only not as many people eat it during the World Series. Invented in 1937, Spam became internationally popular during World War II. The invention of a shelf-stable, sealed protein was practical for soldiers in the field, so it was delivered to American military installations all across the globe. That's how it came to have an unexpected cultural impact on the Philippines, which was colonized by the United States from 1899 to 1946. American military personnel stationed in the Philippines did not eat local cuisine for fear of contamination. Instead, they imported their own vacuum-sealed foods, and Spam was a popular menu item. While the generally well-to-do American soldiers and politicians viewed the canned meat as an inconvenience, it was considered a luxurious import by Filipinos. After the Philippines gained independence from the United States, Spam became a cultural mainstay in the Filipino diet. Some tasty examples of the unique Filipino preparations of Spam include Spam Salog, a Spam-infused rendition of the classic Filipino breakfast of sinangag and itlog, which is garlic fried rice with egg. There's even a special tocino Spam, replicating the flavor of Filipino-style cured bacon. Gumbo, like many other traditional African-American dishes, was born out of struggle, necessity, and ingenuity. The ingredients and methods used to prepare countless gumbo recipes were brought to America through the transatlantic slave trade. While there are numerous regional variations, most gumbos feature andouille sausage with at least one or two other meats: bell pepper, celery, okra, and onions, all stewed in a stock and flour-based roux, a French method of making sauce enhanced by uniquely American Creole culture. Shellfish is also a common addition, especially in areas near water. Hey, it's gumbo! Everyone gets to add something. Gumbo's name, for the record, has nothing to do with gum or gumby. It's derived from keen gumbo, which is the term for okra in West American Bantu dialect. Okra is a key ingredient which is used to thicken the broth. While it's impossible to decontextualize gumbo from its origins, it has taken on a life of its own in the American South. People are as fiercely loyal to their gumbo of choice as they are to their favorite sports teams. And making claims about the perfect color of roux is a surefire way to get many gumbo fans fired up. Hey there, weird history food lovers! Looking for some excitement without leaving your house? Enter DraftKings Casino, America's #1 online casino, with over 300 real money games. Right now, all new players who sign up using promo code WeirdHistoryFood with a minimum $5 deposit will get an instant deposit match of up to $100 in casino credits. With over 175 slot games for you to choose from, including your favorites and an assortment of DraftKings exclusives, you'll never get tired of spinning that wheel. And if DraftKings Casino isn't currently available in your state, you can try your hand at DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Most importantly, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And you'll never have to worry about being asked to leave after making a scene at the salad bar. New customers head to the DraftKings Casino app right now. Sign up using promo code WeirdHistoryFood, make a deposit of at least $5, and DraftKings will instantly match that deposit dollar for dollar up to $100 in casino credits. Thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring this video. When French missionaries touched down in Vietnam in 1887 and began to implement colonial control over the region, they also integrated their foods, language, and customs into the Vietnamese lifestyle. The French were finally ousted in 1954, but while the people didn't particularly care for being ruled by the French, they got seriously into baguettes. While there is much room for interpretation, the Bomi's core ingredients are pickled vegetables, usually daikon and carrot, cilantro, hot peppers, cucumbers, and some kind of protein, typically Vietnamese pork sausage or French pâté. However, the most cultural element is a crisp, fluffy French baguette, sliced lengthwise. In fact, the sandwich's name, banh, roughly translates to bread in Vietnamese. Northern Vietnam called the sandwich pâté or Western bread, while those in South Vietnam refer to it as banh mi, which translates to wheat bread. When over 1 million citizens fled Vietnam in the years following the end of Western intervention, banh mi traveled around the world and caught on especially well in the American market. Due to a bungled reparations deal with Germany at the end of World War II, Poland never fully recovered financially and had to borrow money from the West throughout the 1970s. By the early 1980s, it became clear to the Western creditors that Poland couldn't pay off the loan, which had soared to $16 billion by 1982. Presumably, they sent someone over to break Poland's legs. Being a Polish citizen during this period kinda sucked. They had to abide by strict rations on basic household goods, and foods previously taken for granted were no longer available. As a result, a new culinary culture emerged, and most families ate at home in canteens and in milk bars, which were really just inexpensive cafeterias that simply served dairy-based entrees. Popular milk bar offerings included every configuration of egg one could imagine: pancakes, dumplings, and soups. While many of the food traditions of the era disappeared in 1989, milk bars are still considered a crucial part of Polish history. And thanks to their Eastern kitsch retro style, they remain a valuable part of the Polish tourism industry. Fried chicken plays a complicated role in American history. Since the early 20th century, the popular dish has been at the center of a negative racist stereotype. At the same time, fried chicken is also a symbol of freedom, independence, and financial security. How is that possible? According to race folklorist Claire Schmidt, the stereotype originated from the infamous 1915 white supremacist film, The Birth of a Nation. In the film, white actors play black politicians who are depicted behaving inappropriately on the job, kicking their feet up onto a desk and eating fried chicken. You might be having trouble understanding exactly what was supposed to be so bad about eating fried chicken. Well, according to Schmidt, it's a food you eat with your hands, and therefore it's dirty. Table manners are a way of determining who is worthy of respect or not. Ironically, the finger food nature of fried chicken is one of the main reasons the dish is so beloved in American culture. Chickens are also inexpensive and easy to raise, and fried chicken keeps well, so it's tasty and convenient. Fried chicken also played an important role in history. In the years during and following the abolition of slavery, Black women seeking economic independence used the dish to tap into a lucrative market, the rapidly expanding rail system. In the absence of dining cars, there was a need for quick travel food. These women, known as carrier waiters, would cook fried chicken, biscuits, and other baked goods with a decent shelf life. In some areas, the fried chicken operation was so popular, the travelers would plan their route around their favorite carrier waiters. It's like making sure your connecting flight goes through Denver so you can go to Wolfgang Puck's. The Nazis were incredibly restrictive in their dietary rationing during World War II. They refused rations to anyone deemed a useless eater, groups and individuals who were unfairly classified as unproductive and therefore a drain on society. Though eater is used symbolically in the term, a lot of those people were, in fact, left to starve. But they weren't the only ones. Even people the Nazis considered rightful citizens were often subject to literal starvation because they wanted the food for themselves. Soldiers and higher-ups ate quite well, in fact, helping themselves to the reappropriated assets of their subjugated targets. Civilians, meanwhile, were reduced to eating bread, potatoes, and undesirable factions of meat. Damn Nazis. Germans were aggressively encouraged to eat Eintopf, or one pot, a stew or a casserole in a great big pot. The government portrayed the Eintopf as a social ritual and symbol of national identity, a point of patriotic pride to do your part for the war effort. It was fuel efficient, inexpensive, and could feed many people at once. Of course, it was really just a way to get people to shut up about having their food stolen by the army. Yes, Virginia, there is a Monterey Jack. Prior to the Mexican-American War of 1846, Spanish Franciscans established a mission in Monterey Bay, California. The rest of the land in the area was occupied by Spanish and later Mexican farmers who operated under the Rancho's land grant system, basically the setting of Zorro. Cattle was a particularly lucrative Spanish import at the time, and it generated one of the area's most valuable delicacies, a creamy white cheese called queso blanco. Following the annexation of California to the United States at the end of the fighting in 1848, a deluge of gold-hungry settlers poured into the new state, including a Scottish land speculator named David Jack. Soon after the gold rush began, the newly minted Monterey city officials began to process the land claims of the ranch owners and the missionaries, who were theoretically going to maintain ownership of their properties. In 1853, after years of bureaucratic stalling and fumbling, the United States Land Claims Commission put nearly 30,000 acres of land previously owned by the ranchos up for auction. At this point, the former denizens of Monterey were financially exhausted and unable to recuperate, so David Jack and the attorney meant to represent Monterey purchased the property for $1,000.02. Though it was originally created by the Franciscan fathers who preceded him, Jack realized that he could use his newly acquired cattle ranches and dairies to make money off of queso blanco. He marketed it as Jack's cheese, and the popular product eventually became known as Monterey Jack. Today, David Jack's cheese is as famous as those created by Tom Cheddar and Horatio Swiss, two totally real guys that we did not just make up. So, what do you think? Which is your favorite dish? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from Weird History Food.